Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. DW is out. It's his and Helen's anniversary, so I'll be doing the announcing as well as the call. And thanks for joining us. I'm excited. For nearly the last 25% of my life, I've just really been pursuing this anti-aging or age reversal, as I like to call it, because really, you know, when you say anti, it means not, and the difference between not aging is dying, and I don't want to be dying, so I just call it age reversal. But, you know, in the pursuit, I've spent a lot of time with some of the experts in the field, and I can honestly say that I've learned a significant amount of information, and as I move forward, I learned that some of the things that I learned years ago, some of the things that was introduced to me, it's already been updated, or a lot of it has actually been termed obsolete. But that's because the demand for this kind of information, everybody just wants to know how do they stay young. A drug company just recently decided that they're going to do a study on how metformin can reverse aging and help people live longer. You know, and you think, well, how many people are going to sign up for a study like that, for a study on anti-aging based on a diabetes drug? Well, you'd be surprised. More people signed up than what the drug company could handle, and more than what they needed to conduct the study. And that's because nobody wants to get any older, any faster. Unless you're a 20-year-old and you want to turn 21, that's about it. But you know, there's a lot of people turning 65 today, more than any time in history. There's more people turning 100 on the face of the planet than there's ever been in the history of the world. And as the population gets older, we're all getting older. And as a person ages, then comes some old age diseases. Well, last week we talked about that most of us just assume that if you're a living creature, you age as you get older. And aging really means that there's more chance of mortality as you actually get older, but it's been proven that certain species of jellyfish can actually reverse back to the infant stage, even after they've met their sexual peak. Bacteria 2 days old have the same mortality rate as when they're 10 days old or 2 weeks old. You see, not all living creatures age. They do get older, but they don't necessarily age as what we define as aging. So a month ago, I attended a really eye-opening conference on aging. It was the Revolution Against Aging and Death. There was a lot of radical people there, and we won't get into that, but who really is the radical, right? I mean, the guy that proposed that we eat a lemon and it would prevent death aboard a ship while you're on the ship for many months. I mean, that was way back in the 1400s, and they didn't really recognize it until the 1930s. You know, so how many years was that? How about the guy who proposed that we could fly? I mean, he was considered a radical. 2 weeks ago on this call, we talked about the idea of neurogenesis. When I was in college, I was taught that by the time you were 20, that was all the brain cells you were to get. You didn't make any new ones. Well, now what they found out in the last 20 years is that that's wrong. We make new brain cells every single day. And the people who make new brain cells at a higher speed tend to have better health than the people who are just kind of chugging along in life. And the studies indicate that if you have better neurogenesis, you have less heart disease, you have less cancer, you have less problems with neurodegenerative diseases. And so tonight, I got a couple people that are going to share how some of these nutrients we talked about over the last couple of weeks can actually reverse some of that. Well, last week we talked about the science of telomeres, how that's related to the disease of aging. And if we go after aging, we actually might find the cure for the different diseases that we talk about. And just to tell you how important telomeres are, if you have longer telomeres, they've now proven that you have less chance of cardiovascular disease. But if you do get cardiovascular disease, it's less serious if you have longer telomeres, and you have a better chance of full recovery. So in the opinion of many experts, in my opinion, if we go after the number one and number two things that kill most of us in the Western world, we can improve longevity by almost 10 years. And then if we add going after dementia and Alzheimer's disease, we can really help with the disease that most people feared getting. So tonight, we're really going to focus on cardiovascular issues. I brought my friend Lisa onto the call, and Bill and Allan. So first, let's bring Lisa on. Lisa, if you could hit *6, I know that you just recently got started with Sisel products approximately about a year ago, and within the first 90 days, you and your doctors were well surprised, with what you found out. If you could just share with people what kinds of things you've had that you've noticed have changed. *6. Lisa, are you there? *6. All right. Well, I know you're there. You're having trouble getting on the call. Let's bring Bill DeFalco on. Bill, are you with me?
Can you hear me, Doc?
I hear you loud and clear. Bill, if you, I know you've had some amazing stories going back to your 20s when you were in college. If you could just share with us a little bit about what's happened with you.
Sure, Doc. First of all, you talked about, anti-aging. If you go back 30 years in the network marketing industry, go back 30 years ago, that was the big thing, anti-aging. Nobody, we were all younger then, okay, and we didn't want to grow old. We wanted to stay young. Well, as we all know, none of that stuff worked. It all turned out to be lotions and potions, and lots of people got turned off to nutritional companies, myself included, okay? But, being a person with a medical background, I studied pre-medical curriculum in college, went on to get an engineering degree, and I went into the healthcare industry, and I worked in the field of medical diagnostic imaging. And in the process, I interfaced with lots of doctors from many different professions. But while I was working on my second college degree in electronics engineering, the New York Blood Center came into the school one day, College of Aeronautics, right by LaGuardia Airport. It's now called the Bourne College. And I walked in one day and had all these cots set up. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, we're having a blood drive. Well, I was 25 years old, Doc. I was 5'6", same height as I am today, about 146 pounds, 4 to 8 pounds, a little less than what I am right now. And looking from the outside, appearances is the picture of health. And so I went ahead. I donated blood, no big deal, a little pinch, it was not a big deal at all. But 2 days later, I get this urgent letter from the New York Blood Center telling me that I need to call them right away, that I tested my cholesterol, my triglycerides. I found my cholesterol was over 500. That should never be over 200. And also, what should never be over 200, my triglycerides were 1,200, 1,000 points over the number they should never exceed. So I had extremely elevated cholesterol and triglycerides. I was a walking time bomb. Didn't even know about it. Probably would never have known about it unless I had donated blood. So they invited me to participate in a program in Rockefeller University in Manhattan, diet modification and exercise. And, I had to cut out a lot of things like butter and ice cream and certain things that my body was not, properly metabolizing. And as a result of that, that helped get the cholesterol and triglycerides down quite a bit, but we could never get them down to where they needed to be. Could never do it. And eventually I had to go on medication. And I dreaded going on medication because from my college studies, I knew that medication was nothing more than synthetic drugs. Medication is not designed to cure anything. It's just designed to, to me, it's a half-baked attempt at trying to treat the issues. And the problem is, you got the cholesterol down and the triglycerides down, not to where they should ideally be, but it got them down, where none of the nutritional products I was trying at the time would work. Not one of them. In fact, I went through 32 years, Doctor, trying nutritional products and all these other companies. 99% of them MLMs. And what I learned over the 32-year period was those companies, first of all, over 99% of them are not even making their own products. They just relabel somebody else's mediocre product, and there's never been a product out there, a nutritional product, that really could deliver any kind of really, really notable results. And that's why, none of those companies that I was involved with over the years did nothing for my heart health, and I was not able to build any kind of sustainable income from that. It was nothing genuine in terms of product. So, that battle went on 32 years looking for a nutritional alternative to heart disease. Now, I knew it was out there. In fact, when I learned of the studies of Dr. David Sinclair, and that was about 4 or 5 years before I discovered Sisel, I was convinced that was the big breakthrough, that resveratrol was the big breakthrough that I was looking for. Unfortunately, I tried one respiratory supplement after another, and I never saw any change in my cholesterol or triglycerides. There was no change whatsoever. Not until when and I also want to point out that over the 12-year period before I came to Sisel, before I found Sisel, which was in August of 2009, 7 years ago, just this past month, 12 years prior to that point, my condition, my heart condition, despite the medication, continued to worsen. And over that 12-year period, I had to go to the hospital 4 times, once by ambulance from a really bad heart attack. And over those 4 visits to the hospital, I underwent 4 coronary angioplasties, had 6 stents implanted in my heart. When I came to Sisel, in age of 58, I was in such bad shape I couldn't walk more than 2 miles an hour without chest pain. My hair was thinning out big time. I was literally, losing my hair. And I felt like I was 58 going on 98. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be around to watch my 2 sons graduate from college. Life looked very bleak at that point, and I was ready to just throw in the towel in nutritional products. Because I tried literally everything that was out there, Doc, and nothing worked. Well, somebody had dropped a word to me, this name called Sisel, and they told me the spelling of it, but they actually called me on some other program. But this word intrigued me, Sisel. I Googled it, and I found this phone number, and I called it, and I got on the phone with a gentleman who eventually was later to become my sponsor. But I learned about this new product they had developed, this brand new resveratrol supplement. And as the story goes, Tom Maurer, his philosophy is such that I don't necessarily have to be first to the market with a product, but when I come out with a product, it'll be number 1 in this category. He's done this over and over and over again. He did it with Ficoidin. He's made the best Ficoidin product in the world. And when it came time for Tom to make a resveratrol supplement, you have to give him such credit because Tom has always been on top of all, the greatest breakthrough discoveries in nutrition. Well aware of the powerful benefits of this natural supplement called Ficoidin, and he winds up making it using 20 patents, makes it into the world's finest Ficoidin supplement. Then, when it was time for him to make a resveratrol supplement, he started out by buying every supplement that was available, all the resveratrol supplements on the market that were available. And they tested them, and they found out that by the time these supplements got to the end consumer, upwards of 98% of the potency in the resveratrol was gone, was lost due to oxidation. None of these companies had made any kind of allowance for the fact that when you crush the grape to release the resveratrol, that once it's outside the protective environment of the grape, it becomes highly unstable and it readily oxidizes in the presence of room temperature and air and light. And so, unbeknownst to all these nutritional companies, they're manufacturing, selling, and marketing products that literally were worthless. And I found that out myself because I saw no change in my blood test for all these different resveratrol supplements I took. But after just 6 weeks on Sisel's Essential Eternity, and both their Eternity and their caffeine-free Essential Eternity are patented products. They're made with a patented resveratrol delivery system that maintains the potency of the resveratrol that's lost in all these other supplements due to oxidation. They found a way to lock it in on a microscopic level using a process called micellation or microencapsulation to, on a microscopic level, replicate the protective environment of the grape. There's several other high-tech patented processes involved in the manufacture, including nanosizing, which breaks the particles down to such small sizes to be measured in the size of angstrom. Angstrom is a millionth of a meter, and it's a measurement used by scientists to measure very, very tiny small things that we can't even see with the naked eye. And so they broke the particles down to very, very tiny particles that could be easily absorbed by the body. And on top of that, they have this protection, this coating to protect them from the oxidative breakdown that destroys all the other resveratrol supplements. So after just 6 weeks on this product, I go for one of my regular scheduled blood tests. I had to get my blood tested 3 times a year while I was on the prescription medication to make sure that the meds they were giving me for my heart were not destroying my liver. How nice is that? Well, at any rate, after 6 weeks on the Essential Eternity, and that was the original product, by the way, in the 500 milliliter bottle, and the dosage was a half an ounce. So I was taking a half ounce once a day in the morning, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and you take it one little sip at a time. You swizzle each sip in your mouth because you get absorption, a great deal of absorption, right through the tissues of your mouth. that you just don't get that functionality, that kind of absorption with any other resveratrol supplement. They just don't have that capability to be absorbed right through your mouth. Most capsules, you just swallow them. But this super liquid nutritional supplement that Sisel put together, it's like rocket fuel, because I noticed a difference when I started taking it immediately. I just felt better. And I was losing a pound a week. And I come to realize afterwards that pound a week that I was losing, without changing my diet or exercise, that was cellular waste material being flushed and cleansed off the walls of my arteries. And that's what happens when you get an active, real resveratrol product in your body, not something that's inert, like what all the other companies were selling. So after 6 weeks on this product, a regular one of my scheduled blood tests turned up the lowest cholesterol and triglycerides since I was 25. You're talking, I'm 58 years old. So, over all that time, my doctor said, we just got the lowest cholesterol and triglycerides reading in your entire documented medical blood test history. What in the world did you do? I said to the doctor, have you ever heard of resveratrol? He says, I have. I said, I don't want to tell you this, doc. I said, but I've been taking resveratrol supplements for about almost 5 years. There was no change in my blood test, but now I've got something to talk about, a product that is so revolutionary that it literally, it's so different from any other product out there. It has this patented system that maintains the potency that's lost in all the other products. I know I'm running short out of time, Doc. I'm up at the 10 minutes, but all I can tell you is this, folks. These products deliver like you would never believe, and because of the fact that this product lowered my cholesterol to numbers and my triglyceride to numbers lower than the medication was able to do, I was able to work out a 12-month plan with my doctor and my cardiologist to get gradually weaned off the medication. And at the end of that 12 months, April of 2011, I was off all the meds. Like cardiologist said, I want you to do one more thing. I want you to go for a stress test. But she knew that when I started this, I couldn't walk more than 2 miles an hour in the condition I was in with 6 stents in my heart. And she said, if you can walk 5 miles an hour with a steady EKG and with no chest pain or discomfort, I'll feel comfortable living off the meds. Well, I went for that treadmill test, stress test, and after just a few minutes, the doctor administering the test, he said to me, you're done? I said, what do you mean I'm done? He said, look, you're doing 5 miles an hour. I said, Doc, I'm just getting warmed up over here. I want to see what my new upper limit is. So he said, we'll take it 1 mile an hour at a time, and wouldn't you believe, he told me to stop running at 12 miles an hour. Of course, when the results got back to my cardiologist, she was without words. She said to me, as far as I'm concerned, you're off the medication. Oh, and I also noticed after being on that product for a few months, my hair stopped falling out and it started growing back in. And that's what happens when you have a real active resveratrol supplement in your body. What does it do? It takes that SIRT1 gene, the gene that controls aging, that for the most of us turns off in our mid-20s, and it turns that gene back on. And that was the age reversal process that I started to experience. And it was just incredible. And, of course, since then, I've added Sisel's other great age reversal products, including CSX. And, of course, I'm drinking hydrogen water every day. And I'm getting younger each day. And I just turned 65, and my son's friend said to him, your dad doesn't look anything like 65. His dad is 65, and his dad looks like he's in his 90s. And he told my son that I look like I'm in my 40s, and I certainly feel like it, thanks to Sisel. Back over to you, Doc.
Well, Bill, and I'll tell you, everybody that's on the call, I personally sat down and talked to Bill back in April at the convention, and what a wealth of knowledge. Thank you. So I appreciate that. All right. Well, let's run up to Allan Hordell up in Canada. I know, Allan, you've had some tremendous results with these products as well, just like Bill. I mean, just life-saving results. Are you with me?
Yeah, sure am. How are you?
I'm doing great, Allan. Thanks for jumping on and being ready to share your story. Would you share with everybody a little bit about kind of what's happened with your heart and your cardiovascular health and where you are now?
Well, good evening, everybody. And, talking, hearing Bill talk about, where he's come from and where he's going and how he's got there is quite remarkable. But when you start to hear not only one person, but 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 100 people talk about the same way, and when he was talking about the SIRT1 gene, with resveratrol. I had the very fortunate to work with the Dr. Oz Corporation back several years ago on the very first ever resveratrol product, but it goes back now 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years ago, December 16. Very similar to Dr. Kurt Visnick. I had a horrific snowmobile accident, severed the subclavian artery right out of the heart and actually bled to death. Was clinically dead when arrived at the hospital. It's called NDS, no vital signs. And lo and behold, they were able to clamp the artery and pump some blood into me and brought me back to life. And but I was left with severe damage to the body, severe no left shoulder and no cardiovascular to the left arm and to the left side of me. I bled out completely, and they put a plastic bypass in for temporary to see if they could save the arm. And, I went through a course of the last 10 years. I've gone through 10 major surgeries, but one of the most significant was when I actually had that accident. I wasn't able to do much for the next few years, and I gained over 60 pounds, and my cardiovascular went really downhill. And you got to know, from where I was before, I was an athlete. I raced snowmobiles. I was a professional hockey player. I was still playing, 40, 50 games of hockey a year. And I was the age of 51 when that accident happened. I'm 61 now. But I gained a lot of weight. My cardiovascular went all to you-know-what. And my cholesterol levels rose. And lo and behold, 6 years after the accident, I was diagnosed. Actually 3 years after the accident, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And 6 years after the accident, I was diagnosed with coronary artery disease. And at that point, I started taking resveratrol products and stuff like that. But I actually had to go in and have they discovered 2 complete blocked arteries. So that my chances of even having stents are out of the question. And cardiovascular and runs very rampant in our family. My mom had a quadruple bypass. My brother had a quadruple bypass. My grandfather died at the age of 52. And I can go on in our family. So the best thing was to go under the knife. So I went under the knife 2.5 years ago. But lo and behold, it was a good thing, because not only did they find 2 complete blocked arteries, they found 6. I actually had my heart flipped over, taken out, and actually had 6 arteries completely replaced. 6 complete blockages. Thank God, I was able to get into the hospital as quickly as they did to save my life again, or I wouldn't be here today. So after the operation, I really started to dive into, Sisel products. I really started to dive into the resveratrol that I learned through the Dr. Oz Corporation a few years before that, in rejuvenation of the SIRT1 gene, and knowing that over the course of the last 2.5 years, I've dropped over 60 pounds totally. My cholesterol levels are actually down below normal now. I'm 1 year now free of diabetes, completely free of diabetes, 1 full year. And if anybody knows anything about diabetes, you have to be 6.1 and under every 3 months for 1 full year before they'll even consider you being diabetes free. And it's been that. My last checkup was a full year, which is over a month ago. So we came off of the diabetes drugs. We came off the cholesterol drugs. And then my blood pressure went down to 110 over 70, which brought me down to 1/3 of my cholesterol pills. I'm no longer on any blood thinners. And lo and behold, there's a device that came along that Dr. Kurt and I have got our hands on, where we can actually start to test our chronological ages, not our real age, which my real age is 61, but the inside of our body, our arteries, and it works through the aortal artery, which is the control artery of all your heart, and the velocity of the aortal. And I first all tested out at 42. And let me tell you something, folks. We started using the 4Restore product. This is probably one of the greatest products ever introduced by Sisel, next to the resveratrol. But the 4Restore product, let me tell you, folks, we've been on it for a few months now, And, when you start to deliver nitric oxide back into the bloodstream, which starts to get deficient after the age of 40, this is one of the biggest causes of coronary artery disease is nitric oxide being eliminated from the bloodstream. And when you start to supplement your bloodstream again with nitric oxide, some serious things start to happen. Some real good things start to happen in the body. And that's exactly what happened to me. Not only did my test out, I think the first time was at 41 or 44, I just forget now. The second one I tested out was 39, and just recently I tested at the age of my internal age at 33. We've heard Tom Maurer talk a lot about telomeres and telomeres in the body and strengthening and lengthening and stretching the telomeres to live longer. Well, guess what, folks? That's exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about cardiovascular. We're talking about being able to clear those arteries out, the ones that were completely blocked. And the sad thing about coronary artery disease is most of us don't even know we have it. Most of us don't even I never even got the symptoms, folks. I started getting a little bit of shortness of breath, a little bit of tightness in the chest, but that's all I had. I was still going out and going crazy at the lake and chopping trees and going nuts. It's funny I didn't drop dead of a heart attack. It really is. But let me tell you, folks, it was there, and it's a hidden thing. And so I strongly suggest that over the age of 40 and over the age of 50, you start to get tested. But even before that, you get your hands on the resveratrol product that Sisel has. You get your hands on the 4Restore, the nitric oxide. And by the way, folks, just to let you know, cardiovascular has got a lot to do with impotence in males and even females in the body. And the biggest cause of that is because of the lack of function of the actual blood flow of the body. And when you take 4Restore and you start to produce the nitric oxide and you start to get that blood flowing quicker and faster and cleaner, well, guess what happens to the body? Well, that little blue pill that maybe you're taking or have been taking, you can throw that away. That's that $10 pill that you're buying, and you can take 4Restore and have the same function happen to you by getting that cardiovascular moving in the bloodstream, getting that cardiovascular, cleaning out those arteries, and really getting a proper blood flow through the body. So if you've got cold feet, if you've got lack of circulation, if you've got circulation problems, there's two products that I strongly recommend. Number one being the Eternity, which Bill was talking about, and number two, the 4Restore. I'll tell you something. If it wasn't been this 4Restore in the last few months, man, I'm now, by the way, folks, chronological age, I told you, of 33. But not only that, I'm doing approximately 10 miles a day now, folks. That's right. 10 miles a day where I couldn't even walk 2 blocks before. So I know I took a little bit more time than I should have. Someday I'll tell you my whole story of the 10 operations, the body transfers I've had, the muscle transfers, the nerve transplants I've had in my body just to save my arm. It's quite a story, and I was written up in 2 magazines with it. And someday I'll get a chance to share that with it and share each and every one of you what the products. And I can go down the line of Sisel products, and we take, well, between Leanne and I, we take over 30 products in our house, Sisel products, every single day. So, Dr. Kurt, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thanks, Allan. What a story. I mean, I'll tell you what, folks. I mean, here's 2 powerhouses right there, and you take a look at it. A study was done in Sweden a number of years ago, and they found that nutrients, when you take nutrients, it improves the quality of life. It reduces the number of days that a person would actually stay in the hospital if they do have problems. It reduces the cardiovascular mortality risk, and even provides protection years and years after they stop taking the supplements. And when you take a look at cardiovascular disease, it's the leading cause of death globally. And in the United States, it kills more than 17 million people worldwide, and that's more than all the forms of cancer combined. So you start thinking about it. If we just start going after this thing and just say, hey, we're going to make a difference, we're going to change the world. I know Lisa has joined us and gotten on. Lisa, if you can hit *6, jump on the call with me.
Hi, Kurt.
Hey, there you are.
Hey,
thanks for getting on.
On my phone, so.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to tell everybody a little bit, I kind of gave an introduction in the beginning, but just tell us a little bit about what you've noticed and where you're going with this thing.
Sure. Well, I was introduced to Doc Fizz by a friend of both of ours last October, and was looking at nutraceuticals, and a friend said, "Well, you really got to talk to Doc Fizz, and you got to look at these Sisel products. They're just really unbelievable." And I had all these recommendations on how fantastic these products were, and I didn't have any what I thought were huge disease states or conditions that I wanted to change other than cholesterol. And actually, when I got on these products, I wasn't even thinking about my cholesterol. I have high cholesterol, have a family history of it, both sides of my family. And about 5 years ago, I was actually put on something for it. Had a really bad reaction to the medication. Bad cramps in my legs, started having some kidney issues with it, and they said, nope, you need to go back off, and we'll wait till your numbers get a little bit higher to put you back on, and we'll try on something different. So meantime, went to a different doctor and thought, geez, I really don't want to, go on products like this, at 50 years old. This is not a good thing, and try and stay off. And I sell pharmaceuticals, so I'm tongue-in-cheek in that I know some things help save lives, but boy, the less I can be on, the better I am. So I was really looking for a good nutraceutical and found Sisel. Started taking the Fucoidan and the Eternity to start out with, just 3/4 an ounce once a day. And after 4 months, I actually went in, and it was time for my annual physical. I did my entire lipid panel, and my lipid results came back, and got a letter from the doctor, and before I could even open it, I got a call from my doctor's office saying, "Have you seen your results?" And I said, "My results for what?" "Well, your latest lipid panel." And I said, "No." And I thought, oh, great, here we go. It's going to be time for me to go back on something, and now I'm going to have to possibly have these reactions again with muscle cramping and problems with my kidney. And so I was dreading it, and she said, no, quite contrary. She said, I've never seen anybody's numbers change like this in this short of a period of time. She said, you're not even at risk anymore. What are you doing? Did you start running again? And at the time, I felt guilty saying no, because it was winter and I hadn't been running. I had taken the winter off. I said no, and I thought about it. I said, there's 2 products I've been taking, though. That's the only difference. I hadn't really had a diet change at all. I definitely had not had an exercise change. So it was just these 2 products. And she said, you're not even high risk anymore. So what I'd like you to do is come on in and make an appointment to talk to me and tell me about what you're doing. So to get that in from my doctor was, absolutely beyond me. I mean, to look at the results I had, and like the other 2 gentlemen, Bill and Allan said, my triglycerides were very high, and I cut those down. I had doubled the triglycerides. They had gone down by double in just 4 months. And she said, I've never seen anything like this. And she said, I can't see that you're ever going to need to be on something if you keep up at this rate. And, I kept telling my kids, geez, I feel a lot better. And they kept saying, oh, Mom, it's probably mind over matter. And they all laughed at me. And I showed them a piece of paper, and I said, I know it doesn't matter to you guys. You're teenagers. You look at these cholesterol results, and you go, whatever. But I said, this is why I feel better. My body feels better. It's not just mind over matter. My numbers are completely changed, and I absolutely do feel better. So it's made an incredible difference with me. And beyond the cholesterol stuff, I was telling you, because I used to have a problem with sinus infections, and I got them every fall and every spring, no matter what. And it'll be a year in October I've been on these products now, and I have not had one sinus infection, not one sinus headache, nothing. and I'm attributing it all to, I'm on more than the resveratrol and the Fucoid. Now I'm probably on 4 other, the Brain Vitality and Renovator, because I started running again, and I was waking up in the morning with hip pain, and Doc Fizz said, try the Renovator, it's joint and cartilage, and sure enough, I have no more pain in my hips. I have no pain running. I didn't even get shin splints when I started up again, which I always typically get after I've had a siesta from my running. But no, the products have completely changed my life and my health, so I'm extremely thankful for them.
You bet. Well, Lisa, thank you. What an exciting story, and it's just fun to hear stories like this, and how the products are improving one's health. And Lisa and Allan, Bill, thank you all for sharing what they've done for you. I do need to add just this disclaimer. We're not trying to say that we have a cure. We don't have the cure for any disease. We don't have a treatment. And I have to say is that if you have something wrong with you, if you have a disease, you still need to see your doctor. That's the disclaimer that I really need to add with everything. And present them with these products. Present them with these stories. Let them listen to this call. It'll be up on the SiselDoctorsClinic.com, and you can have them listen to these amazing stories. And for closing, I just want to close with this. I was reading a story about Johnny Weissmuller. He was an Olympic athlete, a gold medal winner in the swimming, and he went on to be Tarzan in the original movies. But when you read about his obituary, he died young. So even if you're in great physical shape, if there's something wrong on the inside, you're not taking care of it with proper nutrition, you can still succumb to the degenerative diseases of aging. And that's really what I want to close with, is that all of the 3 Tarzans that we just had on the call, they're going to be around a long time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. This will be up on the SiselDoctorsClinic.com website, and you'll be able to share it with everyone you know. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, Doc.